Gen Next is a part of Reliance. We have multiple programs. The most heard of is the Gen Next Hub. It's an accelerator program, very typical, in partnership with Microsoft. In addition to the accelerator, we also have a Scalerator program, which is primarily focused on a little bit more mature companies to directly engage with our businesses and run POCs with them, hopefully some of them converting into commercial agreements. We also have a fund. It's called the Gen X Ventures Fund. We invest in slightly later stage companies. So that's who I represent.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Srinivas Kolipara. I'm the founder and chief operating officer of T-Hub in Hyderabad, Telangana. We also do multiple things, as I think everybody here does. We have India's largest incubator. We also run corporate innovation programs for people like Intel, Qualcomm, Samsung, etc. And we're sourcing startups from around the world to come into India and solve some of India's challenges.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Geetika Dayal, Executive Director, TIE Delhi NCR. I represent TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs, which was started about 25 years ago in Silicon Valley, with the spirit of fostering entrepreneurship and helping create more successful entrepreneurs. The way we do that is primarily through providing support in networking, mentoring, education or knowledge sharing, and now also incubation and funding. So we conduct several programs that help entrepreneurs develop personally, professionally, both in terms of developing their ventures as well as getting access to funds. And we have various special interest groups which include women entrepreneurship. So I'm very excited to see women here in this room today. Warm shout out to you all here as well. And very happy to, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. You truly deserve that. And very happy to be here today with all of you.
Hi guys, my name is Arpit Agarwal. I work with Bloom Ventures. We are an early stage venture capital fund, completely homegrown India-based fund. We started in 2011 and have supported about 100 plus ventures over the last 6 years of our existence. We have been around and we typically look at companies which are before Series A kind of funding. We also help them with a large amount of operational support. In fact, we have incubated a company called Constellation Blue within our framework, which helps companies do finance, legal, hiring, etc. services. I also personally, have been involved with startup ecosystem for about 10 years as part of a volunteer program called Head Start Network, which has been around in India for about in 25 cities today. We promote and help large number of young entrepreneurs in very early stage of their journey.
Thank you. So I think, the panel over here consists of an accelerator, an incubator, a mentor, somebody who's funding, and the startup who's missing. So startup's going to be here in a bit. So the ecosystem is being built up. So hopefully more and more startups can come. So not to say Arpit's also had a startup earlier on. So he represents the pain areas and the gain areas from all the startup community. So just to, in terms of your experience, when you are selecting somebody at your startup, at your accelerator, right? So how does it happen? Do you have a form system, or you just like a person and come down and meet with you? So how does it happen between, whether it's your selection and Srini, that'll be coming the same to you, because I think most of the startups want to know, and I'm just taking their question before they can ask you the question, that how do we approach you? On what basis do you are making your selection for us? Whether it's for mentorship, whether it's for, So.
Sure, thanks. So I think we've come a long way. I think we are running our 5th batch now. If that's a long way, I don't know if it is. We started first batch, it was a lot of references, a lot of people we knew, a lot of walk-ins, had about 200, 250 applications. Our current batch, we're at about 2,000 applications. So obviously we had to get far more intelligent about how we select these companies, how we screen them, how we reach out to them. It's an online process. We have an online form where you can just come in and apply. Everybody gets an equal opportunity. But that's not the only way you can come in. You can come in through references. You can reach out to us directly. We've also got direct entries depending on if somebody's already engaged with our businesses. Some of the criteria that we look at, of course, is for us the most important thing is learnability, whether the entrepreneur is willing to learn, has the compassion or has the inclination to really take feedback, get feedback, and do some course correction as needed. The other thing that we look for, of course, is opportunities of finding internal mentors within Reliance. There's no point bringing in somebody who we are not able to mentor, not able to give access to from a business standpoint. In addition to that, of course, we also look at it from an investor standpoint, whatever it may be, scalability and team and founders and all of that. Yeah.
So, I agree with everything that you said. As you know, we've got multiple programs that we run, so it all depends on which program it is. The incubator is the easiest one. That's a rolling program. So people can apply on the website. There's a form, fairly comprehensive form actually, because we get so many applications, it's just not possible to do them, by hand. So they come in and they get filtered out by the system. Probably about 70% of them will get filtered out. The remaining 30 go through panels that have domain expertise. For the individual programs like the corporate accelerators that we run, the parameters are defined by the corporate typically along with us in advance. And so we'll put those up and say, you have to be at a certain stage, you have to be in a particular domain, you have to be tackling the specific problems that we're looking at for that accelerator. And then it becomes a similar process. So the algorithm takes care of getting the bulk out, and to give numbers, we get between, depending on how specialized the program is, anywhere from 500 to about 2,500 applications per program. So it's just not humanly possible to filter them all. The system filters out most, and then the last few go through multiple rounds of discussion until we get to the face-to-face, and then we take into consideration everything that you said, Abhishek.
So before we come to Gitika, between the acceleration and incubation, when does a startup approach you and when does a startup approach you? I mean, what stage?
So, I can answer, I could give you a general answer, right? Because, again, we do programs that tackle early stage as well as later stage. And so you could apply to us for a specific program on that stage. But typically, most incubators tend to be earlier stage. Accelerators tend to be once a little bit of traction has come on board. But that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. That's exactly how we look at it. If the product is ready, if it's been tested, piloted, you may not have paying customers, but you've actually done a deployed commercial deployment, whether it's a free pilot or whatever, that works for us. We don't want to bring in somebody who's busy still developing and cleaning up the product, because we are looking to really, it's a short window, it's 3-4 months. We want to engage you with enough people in our businesses and give you an opportunity to actually go live with something there. So that's what we look for.
So Gitika, and what about you? How do you decide I want to mentor A or B or C?
No, so for TIE, actually the criteria process works not so much for startups, but for the mentors. Because in our case, it's very important to have the right mentor who can be a role model. So all our criteria in terms of selecting and then keeping them in our fold as mentors is for that stage of senior seasoned entrepreneurs and professionals. As far as the startup community is concerned, we welcome all of them. We have programs designed for different people to take them to the next level, whatever their level might be. So starting right from idea stage, there will be programs to help them validate their idea, convert it into a business. But for existing entrepreneurs, there will be a certain set of programs that will take them to the next level. Similarly, there will be programs for those that are looking for funding or looking for a specific requirement like going global and expanding their business. So for us, the criteria in terms of selection is more open in terms of everybody applying for it and then going to the right program to access mentors and networks. We would have a separate level of mentoring for those who are looking to, let's say, go from point A to point B in terms of starting their business to scaling up. And it would be a very different kind of a mentor who would then take them to the next stage of scaling up to exits. So we do have criteria, but it is more in terms of what bucket fits you, what is your specific requirement which can be customized rather than selecting somebody at the entry stage itself. That goes only for the senior guys where they really have to have an obligation to give back to society and be a role model before they can be a mentor.
Absolutely fabulous. TIE NCR has been probably doing phenomenal work, and I think the last 3-4 years you've been kind of on the global map for all this. So congratulations there. Arpit, to you.
So Rajat, honestly, I think we don't do it. We don't do a good job of seeking startups or helping startups or allowing more and more startups to come and talk to us. We are a small team. We are only 9 people who get involved in any kind of process. And although both Srini and Abhishek have had, of course they get many more applicants. They are also earlier stage than where we come in. We have not done a good job of educating people as to saying, okay, at what stage they should go where, which leads to a problem that people at you who typically should go to a Geetika or a Abhishek or even Srinivas keep coming to us hoping that we will have a magic wand somewhere. So I think there is from our perspective, we kind of suck on that note, and we are not able to get out of this. I've been in this organization for 3 years. I haven't seen things dramatically changing. I am of the opinion that many other funds are in similar space where they have not been able to widen their reach. We can definitely do much better, but some part of their answer lies in educating entrepreneurs.
I think that we'll get on the other part, but I'm very happy that you are kind of honestly saying that this is how it's done. And I agree with you that there has to be kind of a snake and ladder path, which shows how do I, if I have to go A, what am I supposed to do? So again, in terms of your selection criteria, how transparent is this? So are you telling the startups that you selected, you're rejected on what basis? So are you having a transparency with everyone?
Yes, so if I look at the form itself that we have, when you fill it in, that actually lays out the criteria. It says, okay, it defines that these are the things that we want to hear from you. This is what we want to understand from you. And again, I'm wearing that corporate accelerator hat, so I'm just going to say that one of the most important criteria there is, what do you want from us? What do you want from Reliance? Why do you want to come and engage with us? So some of those things really make a big difference to our selection process. And just so we understand the process a little bit better, once you're shortlisted, you're brought in to a pitch where there is a multi-level jury, which has our internal Gen Next leadership teams. It has RIL and business units that we have, who actually review these shortlisted startups before they come in, right? And welcome her in. Welcome.
Welcome, sir. It's okay. We all know the traffic issue.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Huge apologies for being late. My name is Sairi. I run a startup called Shiros. We are a careers community for women, and we're building this huge growth network reaching about 100 million women over the next 5 years.
Absolutely. Fantastic to have you here, and I think right in time. The startups always arrive in time. Excellent. Abhishek, so we were just kind of finally discussing about selection of among different, we said, as a startup, we'll come back to you. Yes, sure.
So just to conclude on that, obviously it's not possible to give specific feedback across 2,000 applications, right? But whoever we actually end up shortlisting and whoever comes in, we make sure that we give them specific feedback, and we obviously keep our channels open with them, saying that if you can fix this, if you can work this, we're open to engaging you moving forward, right? So that's it.
Similar for everybody else? So, I mean, Arpit, you've been kind of very frank, saying that,
So again, continuing the same thread, people approach us and we go back to them and say, okay, here, inevitably Indian entrepreneurs come back and say, oh no sir, that is not what I meant to say, and there is something else which is the case. Nothing wrong with them. Unfortunately, we are not able to say it straight or make ourselves understood, which ultimately leads to the fact that it is actually of no value to him or her when we give the feedback. Sometimes, I mean, that's happening way too often for us.
Yeah, no, in fact, on that point, I think not many startups believe that they need mentoring. because they have so much passion and belief in their idea and what they are doing, that they would probably just go directly to Arpit and say, look, everything's fine and just give us your money. And if you're not giving us your money, then probably you don't get it, you know. So I don't know how many entrepreneurs in this room truly believe they need mentoring, but it's just that we found that it does help add that edge. Even if you were to succeed in 5 years' time, perhaps going through with a mentor might make that cycle a 2-year cycle to success, and the ability to reach mentors probably always helps when you have a credible mentor associated with you. But I think that's probably what holds some startups back as well.
So Gitika, do you, in your website, do you mention across, here's XYZ, these are the 5 top mentors we have. Do you rate the mentors? Do you say this is the success stories of the mentors? I mean, that's kind of the transparency maybe the startups are looking at.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. We do have a list of our mentors up there, and we have a very, very strong feedback mechanism.
Okay.
There have been times when we've got feedback from mentees to say that, the advice was not very useful, or the mentor was very casual with their time and how it was spent. And we have an internal checks and balances about how we approach mentors thereafter. At the same time, there is also a feedback mechanism from the mentor about the mentee, because we do find sometimes that the mentees don't come back with the kind of advice that has been given to them for various reasons. So I think it works both ways. But absolutely having mentors out there who are well recognized, who've helped create success for entrepreneurs would definitely attract more people. You're right about that.
So, I mean, that probably brings me to my second question about, are you seeing, your tractions are in tier 1, or, look at tier 2, tier 3 as well? Because today what startups are feeling the pain that, the boys in the big cities have it all. What happens to the mortality rate goes really high in tier 2, tier 3 cities. And it's not that they're not building great products. I mean, the other day I had somebody from a fantastic idea sit across and saying, here's the product which I'm going to develop. But he says, where do I go? I mean, that's the questions people are asking. So, I mean, you build a TIE network across, literally. So what are your plans to saying, or what are your thoughts on expanding this information reach to a tier 2, tier 3 students? And similarly, Srini, I mean, you've probably built up one of the biggest hubs in the country today. So, and you're putting a fair competition to Bangalore now, and putting yourself on the global map. So what happens to the tier 2, tier 3 cities? How are you connecting all those places? And Seri, I'm going to get back to you on another question on the similar front. Seri, is on your startup network, right? On your experience, are you connecting to women in tier 2, tier 3 cities as well? So maybe I'll love to hear something on you on that.
No, I think that's true. And we started in Silicon Valley, and we brought it to a Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore. But obviously this has been something that's gained momentum, and today TIE has 61 chapters in 18 countries. And if I were to just focus on India, we have 16 chapters here which go all the way to Nagpur and Kochi and Coimbatore, Bhubaneswar, Hubli, places that we had initially not thought about. And some of the programs there have had such huge success and turnout of entrepreneurs that it is very heartening. And we keep getting regular requests from places, Raipur, Baroda, where people want to open chapters of TIE and have an active network there. Despite these 16 chapters, sometimes it is still frustrating because you feel that you're still not serving the larger geography. There is much more out there. We are not representative of the entire country. So there is much more to do, and I think platforms like this that have been created by the government will help us reach out to those corners where the access has typically not been there. Somebody somewhere down the line told us we are tier 1 cities, so we feel happy about that. But I'm not sure what is a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, because we see a lot of talent in many other cities which are not tagged tier 1. So it's good to feel tier 1, but I'm not sure what the reason for that joy is. But there is a lot of work still to be done, and hopefully this technology platform will help us do that as well.
Srini, about you building a big hub and spoke kind of a model which helps the entire country.
So rural entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship for tier 2, tier 3 and beyond is something that we actually hold dear to our hearts. Having said that, we haven't done a lot, I'll be honest. And it's because we consider ourselves to be a startup. We had to establish who we were before we could reach out beyond that. I think we do support that kind of stuff through two different ways. One is we run certain programs that cater to that. So Intel's Innovate for Digital India was a program that ran for 6 months that we facilitated. Tomorrow's the demo day, actually, in Hyderabad. But that was aimed at solutions coming out of, for grassroots problems, using digital means. So that's one way, is through programs. The other is that we try and mentor other organizations that are working in Tier 2 and Tier 3. Because one of the things that we find is that the appetite is there, the intelligence is there, but the resources are not. It's hard to find mentors even in our own city sometimes. So finding it in a smaller town is really difficult. We find that there are many incubators, e-cells, organizations working in these sort of places. But the guys running them also don't necessarily have access to the best knowledge. So we're seeing if we can create programs to train them as well, so that we have that network effect. So it's a focus area. We haven't done as much as we want to, but we'll get there.
So what we've observed, Rajat, as part of Head Start, is that the biggest amount of action continues to be what is called as Tier 1, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, of course. Sometimes Ahmedabad, Pune, Jaipur, so many other cities are coming up. And then we have Vizag, Kochi, Bhopal, Lucknow, Ranchi, and so many other places where we established some presence. What we observed is that the big difference is that apart from network effect, there is no benchmark set. The level of ambition of an entrepreneur in a Bangalore or Hyderabad is much bigger than the level of ambition of a Vellore entrepreneur or a Vizag entrepreneur, which I think, and because they haven't seen, it's not relatable to them, and that creates a massive gap on what they think is possible, and therefore what they actually are able to accomplish.
Sorry about, Shiro's kind of...
Right. So, taking from what Arpit said, I think the way we treat this is we see entrepreneurship as a means of employment and income generation, number one, followed by value creation. And in this, we clearly see two segments. Even when we serve our, member base, we look at two segments. One is, the 10x startups, right? Which I think that ecosystem is fairly developed. It's developing. There are enough partners out there, and more so, we're not really sort of defining it by the city or by geography, but definitely by, the kind of startup or kind of business that it is. And of course, we see a lot of traction on both sides on the network, and our approach is that there are millions and millions of women who are trying to take their first shot at entrepreneurship. And it typically starts off as a small and medium business. It starts off as a home business. It starts off as a boutique. It starts off as an experiment in, maybe turning a hobby into business. But we've seen some of these success stories play out, right? Brands like Biba, brands like Baguette. They're all businesses, brands like Hey Didi. There are a lot of these women-owned businesses now which started at this level and have become national scalable brands. And so our whole endeavor is to sort of line up this whole ecosystem with adequate amount of support. So one is the whole startup ecosystem as it exists, and we serve as a channel. But second is creating a system of hand-holding, and I guess especially for women, that's a huge gap. Yeah. So we run a dedicated helpline 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. so that conversations on. There's adequate amount of information sharing. There's adequate amount of connecting to resources. But just in terms of, amount of interest, the number of women who are saying entrepreneurship is my way of finding my custom fit success is, I think, growing faster than any other segment that we know of.
And in terms of when you does language become a barrier as well for
so
you?
I have to say, I think English is the language of business. I guess a lot of India understands that. Even the ones who are not out there, aspire to do business in English. So there are certain gaps. So, so while our primary means of communication is still English, we are piloting, some vernacular content, a Hindi helpline, phone helpline. But net, nobody aspires to stay at where they are. Everybody aspires to say, let me go to the next level. And all said and done, tier 1, 10x, becoming a profitable business, becoming an employment generator. These are aspirations, and that's the direction. So, we do not fight too much on those fronts.
So coming to aspiration, I'm going to ask the two funding guys here, sitting here. So I'm not from IM, I'm not from IIT, right? So regular question. Would you still, and I'm from tier 2. Are you going to look at me? Are you going to
Of course. So just adding to what we were picking up from the last conversation as well, I think we did some analysis of our applications, and cumulatively about 55% has come from beyond the well-known so whatever you call it, these cities. Right? The question or the challenge is how many of these have actually come into the program or been able to bubble up into becoming, our trainees or graduatees. And I think that's where Arpit's point comes in, right? If you're from an investor standpoint, you're looking for aspiration. You need, that's your KRA. You need somebody who can actually deliver on that. But from an accelerator standpoint, we're very open to groom people who need that help as well, right? We're not looking at it when somebody comes into the accelerator. We're obviously not looking at it from that lens. We're saying what value add can we bring to this guy? And if the value add is, really bringing him to a national platform or exposing him to a global platform, so be it. So we're very happy to do that.
So, Rajat, I'm not from an IIT in the sense I'm not from BTech in IIT. I did my MBA from IIT, which is still tier 2, so let's just forget it. Point is, I have realized that NIT Trichy, which is also a top 10 college, which I graduated from, and an IIT Delhi or Bombay or Madras or Kharagpur, there is a massive difference between the ability of their ability to reach a funding hub like us, right? I realized that there are about 250 founders in Bloom portfolio, and there is 0 NIT Trichy. Every IIT has multiple. IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, IIT Kharagpur, I think IIT Madras also, multiple founders. No bias. I don't think there is any bias in my mind, at least, against NIT Trichy, very clearly. But I haven't seen it. I think what is gap? The gap is that they see their seniors. So think of an IIT Delhi graduate who has seen Sachin Bansal in his shorts in hostel, right? Back in 2009 or 2005. He can relate to that success, and he's just one case. I'm sure there are so many others. Much better, and push himself that much harder. Use those kind of levers, takes that kind of risks. That an NIT Trichy entrepreneur or a tier 2 entrepreneur, unfortunately, struggles. Nothing against them. They've been fantastic entrepreneurs I know from NIT Trichy. None that we have funded, unfortunately.
Really? That's Satya Nadella too, coming in from Bangalore. So, why I ask you that question? Because typically I always feel that the knowledge, information available with the better institutes does not really get percolated down to the other institutions. So how do we, as kind of, sitting here, try to think that something like this is it a problem? Firstly, is it a problem or not at all?
So again, yes, that's an important question to ask. Is this a problem? In my opinion, it is only a problem if you think that this is bound to happen. However, if the people who have succeeded in a certain exam are able to get into an IIT and therefore get much ahead in life after 25 years of graduation, they probably deserved it, no? Right? Also, it is also dependent very heavily on the kind of people who are graduating to build this around themselves. For every institute, why should an NIT Trichy alumni not been able to pull this off? What a BITS Pilani is able to do, or IIT Bombay is able to do. It ultimately starts from there because they stand to benefit the most. Yes, we can definitely help from outside. Yes, we can definitely make the outreach through an accelerator, incubator, TIE, Head Start, whatever. There's so many places. But no one is stopping anyone, even a student, to come to a TIE program. Right? The doors are all open.
So do you publish anything which says, here are the 5 things startup you need to do It's available on my website before even you make me a call.
That's a good idea. We don't. That we should probably do that. That's a good idea because people should be able to self-filter themselves out, right? And they will be much more satisfied because we will be able to explain it in a way. Maybe we can all do that. Yeah.
Hopefully the Startup Hub is taking care of it. So I just wanted to get on, there's a lovely word called Jugaad in the country. But before I come to Jugaad, getting back onto, supporting Tier 2, Tier 3, in Tier 2, Tier 3. Now, Abhishek, you've got a vast corporate experience, and even as an accelerator, you help in defining the entire go-to-market strategy for a startup, right? So how would you think you will do it differently for helping somebody who's already in your accelerator and somebody who's in an accelerator, which is probably in another, Tier 2, Tier 3 city? You think, what were the different things which you'll probably put up?
See, I think the biggest advantage of somebody coming in and the unfair advantage is that we are co-located with most of our businesses, right? So if you come into our accelerator, which is in Navi Mumbai at our corporate park, every day you're meeting somebody or the other, some other business leader or the other, and some new ideas are coming up, right? The day you walk into the program, nobody has all your answers. Once people meet you, talk to you, understand you, your problems are understood better, you find direction. Right? And it's not like somebody's going to give you direction. You find direction. You work with people. You find direction. So I think, like Srini was saying, we've also wanted to, expand further, go to Tier 2, Tier 3, do those things, but we haven't yet gotten down to doing that. But given our presence and given the kind of presence we have across the country, that we should be able to do something like that and engage startups with, local business units and get them groomed there. That could help. Maybe that's one way to help.
I just want to add a little more. I mean, it's just a little bit extra to add to what Arpit said and what Abhishek said too, which is, you used the word benchmark, and I think that's really important. I mean, Silicon Valley, the quality of startups that come out of there, even at the idea stage, is so much higher. And it's not the place, right? It's just that there's enough people out there that have done amazing things already, so your aspiration is higher, your benchmark is higher, and that's similar to Tier 1 cities, is similar situation. You've got people who've done stuff around you. And also the IIT and IIM type thing, same thing. It's all the people that you're surrounded with, it's what your expectations of your ambition is, it's all of that stuff. And so going back to the point that I was making, if we can do that networking piece and kind of train the trainer to expect more for himself and that he can make his entrepreneurs do more. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think that will make a difference.
Gitika, what about, in terms of mentors? Are they available in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities? Because that's why it's very difficult. Yeah.
No, mentors, are keen to make their time available. They're happy to support this, but their time is precious. So they want to use it wisely. They want to use it with startups that they feel will really utilize their time well and create value. So I think to that extent, while the mentor network is still not as robust in many of these areas, but if we are able to create a good pipeline, the mentors will make time because they are quite passionate about giving back and giving it back to the society from whom they have benefited. But to do that, we have to make sure that we are giving them curated startups. It's not that they will probably be able to devote time to every request that's coming in. So it'll have to be a sort of tier level mentor network as well, not just city-wise. But at the same time, I think it is also important for us because I'm sure there are success stories in many parts of India, but they have not had the same platform or they have not been celebrated in the same way that a lot of the tier 1 startups or success stories have been. So if we can create that, find them, showcase them, celebrate them, I'm sure the aspiration at the local level will also increase because, and probably those stories are even better because they have managed to succeed without the ecosystem support that some of the others here have been able to get. So we have to also, work with local partners to try and do that. And the final thing on this is actually that it's also a question of understanding what a successful entrepreneur means. It's not just, as of now, the benchmark for success has become that he's got funded. He's raised money, he's raised funding, so he's become successful. But even in terms of defining what success is, many of the entrepreneurs that Sairi is working with may not be necessarily looking for the kind of scale and funding, but may be still successful in their own right for what they've created. So even in terms of redefining success and what they are able to achieve should be celebrated without necessarily benchmarking just funding around it, I suppose.
Okay, so I mean, one of the other, sorry, you wanted.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add, to what everyone said. I think at heart, anybody who's building something, whatever their idea is, ultimately, I think startup is more of a sentiment, and as co-owners of the combined ecosystem, I think somewhere cross-pollination of stories and ideas is what forms real communities, and everything else just logistics at heart. And, I guess our job is to also make space for, the stories, communication, frameworks, and I guess and at Sheroes we definitely play on, the whole system of online frameworks and filtration of, it's a little like, it's very Darwinian, right? So, when you open the floodgates for everyone, the smartest ones will keep finding a way, and they will cross borders, first of all, and everybody else will also find the right space within the ecosystem. And I guess keeping the momentum going and making sure that there's new energy, there are new ideas, there are newer entrepreneurs who keep coming in. And I guess any startup ecosystem that has become vibrant has come in because they brought in ideas from a diverse set of people, diverse set of individuals, diverse geographies. And I guess that's our real job, when we're, at what we are doing.
Absolutely. I think you rightly said, Sari, that, do the new. And I think that's very important for the startup. So I think rather than doing the jugaad here, which is what the startup ecosystem kind of, and most of the investors who keep saying we get a lot of pile-ins, requests, etc. So Srini, I want to come back to you, because you mentioned that you're building the innovation hub, right? So how do you kind of support innovation, and how do you screen out jugaad? Or you let them both coexist?
So we're very focused on scalable startups, right? And that kind of rules out jugaad to some extent. I mean, jugaad usually is a make-fix, in my world at least. It's something that you do and it solves the problem for now, but not necessarily scalable. So the question is, can you train, if you were in that early stage, because we're not doing the early stage anymore, but if we were, can you train someone who's doing jugaad to make that into a scalable idea? And I think part of the problem is that entrepreneurship, which is the art of building scalable institutions, is not widespread. People, and this is something that we've talked about with various organizations that work in Tier 2 and Tier 3, by the way, is they have people that have built a solution that's viable in their one town, but can you help them to scale that and build it out at a national level? So that's one piece of that. When it comes to innovation specifically, what we're trying to do is a couple of things. One is we're trying to focus on specific domains and get mentors that are deep into that one domain and then build expertise around that. And so a lot of the programs that we run are actually driven by the fact that we're focusing on a domain and we find a domain partner. So that's one way of doing it. But there's lots of different ways.
Yeah, that's super. I think, probably try and cover up every aspect of it. And even I know Niti Aayog is building up these 1,000 innovation labs, so that's be super for the ecosystem. Sari, putting you back, into now, right? So, you've done your startup quite some time ago, now, right? And with this whole platform being built up and the ecosystem being built up, what do you see different now than what was it earlier when you had built it about a couple of years ago?
So one thing, I guess.
What were the challenges? I mean, typically, what were the challenges?
I always say, our biggest challenge was category. Anything around women, every time I went and met somebody, they said, oh, you're a Mahila company, you must be an NGO, right? Or you're not even a company, So getting recognized that far was, I guess, a good start. The fact that the category is littered with pink content, right? Everything related to women is all about, 4 or 5 categories: parenting and Bollywood and fashion and jewelry and maybe a couple of more.
All decision making.
Right, all decision making. But the fact remains, it did not serve the core demographic, right? So we know India produces the maximum number of women graduates in the world, right? And it didn't do anything about that. And that was really, the problem statement here. So to serve a new demographic and to also change some of their own behavior, right? To say, hey, how do women start up more? How do women sort of start taking more charge of, their own aspirations? How do we drum up a system around them? How do we drum up a peer support around them? How do we build a circle of support? So it was really a process of creating many elements together that will hold all of this, and make it viable for the whole stack: women in colleges, women in entrepreneurship, women in corporate jobs, to sort of find their mojo, right? Find whatever that works for them. But I guess, it's sort of par for the course. You got to do it once.
Super. So I think we've had a good panel discussion here. Thank you very much. But I'll just quickly open it probably for 2 questions from the audience. So if there are questions, please quickly raise your hand so we cannot delay. I can see one there. And is anybody else? One here. So just one question maybe, is it? One question? Okay. Quickly. You can just stand up, yeah.
Hi, this side Harsh Takral. I'm from Anway Techno Solutions Private Limited, and actually we are a cybercrime investigation software development company. I'm actually facing so many issues, so many things earlier before I met Startup India. I just wanted to know what kind of support we can get from incubators, or what kind of support we can get from accelerator program to launch our product all across the country and worldwide, because our product is already approved by government, Delhi Police. So this is the question that I wanted to ask.
Excellent. So I think just wait for a bit. We're going to launch the portal and you will have some of the answers for yourself. Yeah.
Sure.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for leading that question. Yeah. Thank you, panelists. Lovely time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, folks, we're just going to have a quick tea break for 10 minutes, and I request you to please come back to your seats because we're waiting for the Honorable Minister to be here. Thank you. Everyone, attention. This is the startup world. Please come back. Please sit. Tea will be a little later. We'll probably network around 4 o'clock and get some tea. I request you to please come back to your seats, please. Thank you. Are you guys? Okay, so if everyone can please settle down, I'd like to request Sri Ramesh Abhishek, DIPP Secretary, to kindly come on stage. And friend Deepak. Huh?
Hi. Requesting all of you guys to please settle down. Our Honorable Minister will be joining us in a couple of minutes. Hi. I request all of you to please settle down. Our Honorable Minister is here.
Should be most welcome. Can I request you all to please have your seats, please? Welcome back. Let us now initiate the launch of the Startup India Hub by lighting the auspicious lamp. I invite Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, the Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Shri Ramesh Abhishek ji, Secretary for Department of DIPP, Shri Rajiv Agarwal ji, and Mr. Deepak Bagla, MD and CEO of Invest India, to please come forward and proceed with the lightning. So can I now request Sri Ramesh Abhishek ji to come and share his thoughts on the Startup India Hub, its need, and how it will benefit the startup ecosystem. Mr. Abhishek, please.
Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, my colleagues Rajiv Agarwal, Deepak Bagla, all the members of the startup fraternity here, ladies and gentlemen. It's a matter of great satisfaction for all of us that today our startup hub, which has been in the making for some time, is getting launched by our Honorable Minister. From the beginning of this startup journey, when our Honorable Prime Minister launched the Startup Action Plan, we have been constantly guided by our Minister to do better and still better. And the result has been that by taking continuous feedback from all of you, from the stakeholders all over the country, through meetings, conferences, through social media, we have been able to constantly innovate and improve our policies, our implementation, and that is, of course, a work in progress till we do much better than what we have been able to do so far. I'll just make a quick presentation on what has been done in the last 1.5 years since this Startup Action Plan was launched, and then we'll proceed further. As you can see, it's a snapshot of how many startups have been benefited in the since January we have taken a figure. You can see that almost 3,300 plus startups have been benefited. I'll shortly come to how they have been benefited and by whom and to what extent. The 960 crore rupees of funds have been disbursed to startups in this period by the government agencies, we'll identify soon. 828 crores have been sanctioned for infrastructure, that is research parks, incubators, tinkering labs, technology business incubators, and so on. We have also answered 52,000 plus queries through the physical startup hub that we have been operating in Invest India. That shows the kind of engagement we have done in the last 1.5 years. We have also appointed more than 1,000 facilitators for patents and trademarks to help startups deal with this IPR space. We have also the learning and development module, which our Honorable Minister launched on 16 January this year, on the first anniversary of the Startup Action Plan. We already have more than 1.4 lakh users registered, and it has proved to be quite a hit, and we have got excellent feedback. Again, we have got, through Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog has sanctioned 457 tinkering labs, and Atal Tinkering Labs, for the first time, we are trying to spread innovation culture to schools themselves. This is the way we have been able to benefit 3,300 plus startups, disbursed 960 crores. Department of Biotechnology has benefited 350 startups, giving them 154 crores by way of incubation and grants. Similarly, Ministry of HRD has given, you can see the numbers, I don't need to repeat. SIDBI, through their fund of funds, they have actually helped 65 startups so far through 623 crores that we had given them. Department of Science and Technology, as usual, have been quite at the forefront, helping 550 startups. We have actually facilitated 358 startups for patents and trademarks, and 400 startups have been facilitated through Invest India. Very specific facilitation has been done, and so far we have recognized over 1,300 startups. You can see that in response to the feedback that we got from everyone, we have revised the definition. Earlier we had only innovation as a criteria for recognition as a startup. Now we have expanded that to scalability of job creation potential as well as wealth creation potential. And you can see that the number of applications that have really jumped up since we revised the definition. This again shows that we are very flexible. From 5 years of validity for a startup, we made it 7 years to align it with the new income tax benefits, in which now benefits are available for 3 out of any 7 years. And for biotech startups, we have actually increased the startup life cycle period for our definition to 10 years. So far, we have recognized 1,333 startups. Almost we are getting 40 to 50 applications every day. It's a very simple process. There's no need for any certificate for any incubator anymore. And we have also expanded the definition for giving tax benefits. The committee has already recommended 39 startups for giving income tax benefits, and we are reviewing all cases of startups who have incorporated after 1st April 2016 for any tax benefit that they might have applied for. That previous slide also shows the distribution of these 1,333 startups from various parts of the country. But I'm sure this number is going to really multiply this year with the expanded definition and the greater outreach that we are going to have. These are the queries. You can see that 52,000 queries came mainly from which states, and also the kind of queries that came, 76% business and working professionals, and so on. And our engagement has been through emails, call centers, as well as the Twitter Seva, which was launched by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry last year. We have some examples have been given here of specific facilitation cases of some startups. We helped many startups access government funds. We helped them connect with many other players, whereby they could actually, one of them could supply unmanned ships to the Navy, the last one, the Sagar Defense. So this is just some examples of the specific facilitation that we could do. They are operating many fund of funds, including the fund of funds for startups since last year. And you can see that the amount of money which has been committed after the Startup Action Plan was launched in January last year has multiplied. Earlier, the commitment was 600 odd crores. It has expanded almost double to 1100 plus crores in the last financial year. And a drawdown, the actual disbursement also has actually increased, has increased quite 65% or so, from roughly 136 to about 221 crores. So this shows that since the action plan was launched, the number of startups, the number of funds, the amount committed and amount disbursed, all have increased sharply. So this slide shows the kind of effect this plan have had on the startup ecosystem in terms of greater access to equity capital. And on fund of funds for startups, this was 10,000 crores have been announced. That's going to be given over a period of 9 years. So far as 600 crores were given. Along with the interest, this entire amount was committed before 31st March. It has been given to 17 venture capital funds. They have already 35 crores have been disbursed to 65 startups, but that has catalyzed an investment of almost 230 odd crores so far as those startups are concerned, because we are only contributing a part of it through our daughter funds. And this year, we have asked for 1,600 crores more, and we are hopeful that once we get that, the amount of funds available to startups through fund of funds will really go up very sharply. Credit guarantee scheme is another one that we had promised. Just last week, it has been approved by the Ministry of Finance. It's going to be 2,000 crores will be given in 3 years for collateral-free loans. One startup will get a maximum of 5 crore rupees. I mean, that is the guarantee that we will take. They can get, of course, more. And these are some of the features of the scheme. We are hoping to get cabinet approval by end of July so that this fund becomes fully operational. But this is all the main job has been done. We went through a lot of consultations. That's how it took a little longer than it should have, perhaps. And this 2,000 crores, we think, will actually result in guaranteeing debt of more than 15,000 crores at a multiple of 7.5, and it will help about 7,500 plus startups over this life cycle period. IPR support, we have given 80% rebate on patent filing fees. 200 startups have already benefited by this particular provision. 35, we also provided for expedited examination of patent applications of startups. So you have had 35 startups benefiting from this provision. And this is very important because normally it takes much longer. So this has been a big help for startups who have had patents. Just go back. And we also, this facilitation I have already mentioned. And in the recent trademark rules that were amended, making procedures much simpler, we have also provided for 50% fee rebate for startups. And you can see that one promise was that there will be no need for prior experience of turnover for startups. So that was done last year. And recently, Ministry of Corporate Affairs have also notified startups for fast-track exit process under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Another major demand of the startup movement, another promise has been redeemed. Tax exemptions have been given last year. We had given for income tax 3 out of 5 years. This has been made into 3 out of 7 years, recognizing that startups don't make much profit by and large in the beginning. So this expanded definition provision has definitely going to help the startups. And these are some of the other startup tax benefits given to startups. These are the infrastructure support. I have already mentioned 457 tinkering labs which have been sanctioned. They have already been given 12 lakh rupees of grant for equipment and capital expenditure. Now they will be getting 2 lakhs each for the next 4 years to act for their operational expenditure. And then this year, now Niti Aayog will be sanctioning 1,000 more tinkering labs in schools across the country. And you can see that for new incubators also, Niti Aayog has approved 10 institutes that they will get 10 crore rupees over a period of 5 years. And also they have approved 6 institutes for upgrading their incubation facilities. Actually, we want to do much more. There was an open grant challenge for this. A lot of incubators had applied, but this is all that were found eligible. Again, we are hoping that this year more and more people will apply and they will qualify for these grants. We realize that this is not much of a number in a large country like ours, but then we need to have more qualified applications. And again, technology business incubators, 11 have been approved in the last 1 year, and 15 have been approved as startup centers which are more like slightly less than incubators. Research parks, again, we have promised to set up 8 research parks. The one in Gandhinagar has already, the work has started there, and 2 more have been sanctioned during this year. Biotechnology clusters, 3 clusters have been funded. I have given the names. I have indicated the amount that has been sanctioned. Biotech Equity Fund has been set up, and new bio incubators have been funded. And Bengaluru, Boston, this new gateway have been established, whereby 4 researchers have been sent. This presentation will be there on our website, so you can have a look at that also at leisure. Yeah. And again, these are some of the other programs, innovation-focused programs for students. I will not go into details, but you can see that these are the initiatives from the Department of Science and Technology for the young minds and for creating million ideas. Then regulatory reforms. One of the constant refrain has been that we need a different regulatory setup for startups. A lot of work has been done, but I've listed only some where specific regulatory changes have been made by the government and by the regulators. So this will be on the website again, and we have also shared it today with many of you, but please have a look at the website. I don't want to go into it just to save time. Easier compliance, we had promised that there will be easier compliance. 12 states have issued advisories in matters of labor laws, and we are hoping that this easy compliance period in which there will be no requirement of inspection will be expanded from 3 to 5 years. Now we have sent a new advisory to states to make it compliance free for 5 years for startups. And learning program, once again, these are the kind of modules that are there in the learning program. This has been offered free of cost in partnership with a private startup, Upgrad, and this has been very popular. We want to make available more and more such facilities to our ecosystem and to startups and the young entrepreneurs from our startup ecosystem and Startup India Action Plan. Some of the partnerships that we have had over the year, we want to partner with all, whether it's private sector, corporate sector, and academia, and we want to make sure that every possible support is given to the startups. There are some of the engagements we have had over the year. We have had several fests and conferences and so on, and we want to keep it up, and we will keep it up in the coming year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. That was indeed fantastic numbers which were shown here. And I'm sure when you picked up the newspaper for the last 2 or 3 days news, there was news just this morning about the incubation in Mangaluru. So that's a very encouraging sign. FDI policies kind of getting changed for jobs. So another very positive. Fundraising compliance norms which have, you put forward for getting a lot of reliefs. And I think today's Niti Aayog announcing the 1,000 meter labs. So really a great path for the ecosystem. And I think what's being built up right now is a great platform for all of us to use. And I think that's what we're going to be showing right now, a small video clip which Startup India has created on the initiative. And it brings out the benefits offered to the startups and other stakeholders under the same screen. Can I request the video, please?
A billion dreams, and behind each, there is an idea. Launching a startup is a dream for many entrepreneurs today. And our Honorable Prime Minister's vision is a guiding light.
हिंदुस्तान का कोई जिला, हिंदुस्तान का कोई ब्लॉक ऐसा न हो कि आने वाले दिनों में नए स्टार्टअप शुरू न हुए.
Startup India, an initiative of the Government of India that promotes entrepreneurship by nurturing, mentoring, and facilitating startups throughout their life cycle. January 2016 saw the launch of the Action Plan, a big step to help entrepreneurs get started.
We have a tech startup idea, but don't know where to begin.
Honestly, I have no business background, but don't know where to go for advice.
The Startup India Hub is a unique platform that addresses your requirements. It identifies and approaches the right mentors, incubators, accelerators, and investors.
And you can access all of this through the Startup India app or the website.
Dad said ऐसे startup शुरू नहीं हो जाता. Business करना आता भी है. Well, आता तो नहीं था. But then I took the free Startup India learning program, and here I am.
Protecting the idea is very important, but how do I start? The government-appointed facilitator helped me find my patents for almost no cost.
Idea और funding से startup शुरू नहीं होते. गवर्नमेंट रिक्वायरमेंट्स का पेपर वर्क और सरकारी दफ्तरों में भागा दौड़ी, इसका खर्चा कहाँ से आएगा?
Startup India understands this and helps entrepreneurs self-certify for compliance under 6 labor and 3 environment laws, and several states are in adherence. Guidance and mentorship is great, but a startup needs the right resources to grow. This is why academia and the industry have been brought together to set up research parks, incubators and startup centers across the country. Let's look at biotechnology today. Bioclusters and bioincubators are being set up at major national research institutes and universities to help startups in every possible way. We know funding is a big roadblock for startups. The government has created a fund of funds that will help startups gain access to funding.
Entrepreneurs will no longer face the challenge of initial profitability. The exemption under the Startup India initiative gives you a 3-year tax holiday out of a block of 7 years. You can reinvest the capital, really make your business big.
Businesses fail all the time. Startup India helps you wind up your business in 90 days and move on to your next thing.
We are committed to promote entrepreneurship, innovation and startups in the country. We have taken a number of steps and initiatives to strengthen the ecosystem for startups, and we are committed to doing whatever is required to be done to further promote this ecosystem and provide our entrepreneurs and the young people with the opportunities that they require.
Spirit of entrepreneurship begins early, and adult tinkering labs at school level encourage this very spirit. Plus, many programs help at the college level too.
The government is constantly moving forward, but with the inputs which come from people. The government is going to be an honest facilitator. We want to make sure that the startups are not going to be wondering as to who's going to help them. We are here. Access us for information, access us for suggestions, and access us also tell us that we should do things better this way or that. We are here to help you. We want you to succeed as a good startup entrepreneur. We are with you.
With Startup India by your side, why wait? Come on, India. Let's start up. Get recognized with Startup India because we are here to help.
Wow, truly inspiring. Certainly feel that the platform will make a definite impact in the ecosystem. Can I now request Honorable CIM to please formally inaugurate the Startup Hub? Just put it there. Okay. Can I now request Mr. Aditya Sharma from Invest India to tell us more about the Startup India Hub, the idea behind the concept of this portal and the journey so far it's created. Aditya?
Honorable Minister Madam, respected Secretary Sir, JS Sir, Mr. Bagla, friends and colleagues, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm going to talk briefly about what led to the development of the hub, what are the limitations and problems that we're trying to address to this hub, and finally we're going to see a small preview, a demo video of the actual product. Success of any startup, or for that matter any business, depends upon its ability to listen to its customers, understand their pain points, and respond according to the right product or a service. For government, customer translates to citizens, because it's in a business of serving citizens. For us at Startup India Hub, our customers are citizens of startup world. And we, being a single point of contact for the entire ecosystem, got a wonderful chance to listen to the voice of our customers. We interacted with thousands of entrepreneurs, enablers, ecosystem builders, and aggregated over 2 lakh data points from across the medium. As we correlated these data points with the facts available to us, we realized that to add most value to the Indian startup ecosystem, we need to do 2 things. Number 1, minimize the information asymmetry that exists in the system. Number 2, increase the utilization of existing resources. So if you look at this slide, this actually summarized the discussion that we had earlier, panel discussion. There is a high information asymmetry that currently exists in the system. Our ecosystem is highly fragmented, and these problems are even more prominent if you move to tier 2 or tier 3 cities. Startups are looking for funds. Funds are working day and night, putting lot and effort, time and energy to find the right startups. There are thousands of mentors eager to contribute to the community. However, they are limited by lack of reliable channel to engage with startups. We have over 200 incubators and accelerators. However, most of them do not operate at optimum capacity. On the other hand, startup struggles to find infrastructure. And last but not the least, our government. So when I joined this position around a year back, I was pleasantly surprised that there is so much that the government is doing for entrepreneurs. We have identified over 180 schemes at the center government level that caters to the different stakeholders in the startup ecosystem. However, lack of awareness about these schemes leads to a lot of untapped resources under these programs. So message was very clear. We need to evolve ourselves from a single point of contact to one single platform wherein entire startup community can engage and connect to each other. We topped it up with the right information, knowledge, and resources. And here we have a one-stop shop for the entire startups. It leads to minimum information asymmetry and maximum utilization of resources. Without taking much of your time, let's see how all of this have come together. Can we have the video, please?
Welcome to Startup India Hub, a one-stop platform for the entire startup community. A platform which will help you create your own startup story. Your personalized dashboard enables you to connect with mentors, incubators, accelerators, investors, and other fellow startup founders. These potential partners are categorized according to your chosen industry, stage, and location. You can send a connect request to any of these community members and take the conversation further over email or a cup of coffee. Check out the resources section for valuable knowledge, learning and development programs, and various other tools and templates. From registering a company to accessing market research reports, we have covered it all for you. A curated list of government schemes applicable to the startup ecosystem, along with the application link and contact person details, is now just a click away. See what is happening in the startup world. Check out the latest blogs written by members of the startup community and news curated from over 20 different sources. Get to know about the upcoming meetups and startup events in your location. On the forum section of the hub, ask questions, engage in discussions, and get valuable feedback from the community. In case you need any assistance, we have Sara to help you navigate the platform better, constantly enhancing itself to provide updated recommendations over time. So, what's stopping you from spreading your wings now? Start up now and register using MyGov or any other social media credentials. Access the hub on the go using our app available on Google Play and the App Store.
Yes. We will be introducing Sara, an AI bot. Please be patient with it. As with any other AI technology, it will learn and improve itself over time. This is just a start. We have planned many cool features and functionality in next product iterations. And of course, we'll be adding regional languages in coming weeks. Madam Minister, it is our privilege to work under your good guidance and leadership. Your timely inputs and valuable feedback were most vital for this project. We seek further guidance and have prepared ourselves to work even harder to continuously and improve the product. On that note, I'd like to conclude and invite each one of you to please come and register on the portal. We look forward to your collaboration, your feedback, and your support to help us build a much stronger startup ecosystem in India. Thank you.
Thanks, Aditya. That was a very nice introduction of the, I would say, the technology hub, technology startup hub. I think it's very important that there is active usage of this hub and certainly good outreach so that people are constantly, like Aditya said, should be onboarded onto it very quickly. And do please give feedbacks on the hub too, so that it's always fresh, innovative, and new ideas keep coming in. With that, I just, before I request the Honorable Minister to say a few words of the hub and its offering, as we all know that the objective of Startup India is to nurture the robust ecosystem and enable innovation in the country. And with that helping the economy to grow, have more jobs, opportunities and employment opportunities available, the hub is such an important feature that I would say this is the step ladder to realizing your dreams for the startup. So with that, can I please request the Honorable Minister to say a few words, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone here. Secretary from the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. Rajiv Agarwal ji, who really intensely works on the issues related to startup. CEO of Invest India, Deepak Bagla ji, and all invited guests, media, and literally everyone who's interested in startup. I'm glad that you're here today. We are definitely trying to do things which will meet your expectation, and I think in every such assembly of people interested in startup, I can only assure you, we are moving, hopefully, reflecting the inputs that we've been getting from you. And therefore, although this Startup Hub has been initiated today, which is going to again benefit from your input, I would want the engagement to be a lot more dynamic, keep it coming, so that we are able to, one, respond, and two, correct our course at every stage. We are, from our side, trying to expedite on critical things like the disbursement of fund, ensuring that tax benefits are really meaningful, and that if there's time lost between ministries, we are trying to push it ahead so that that time lag is cut down to the minimum, which we can't avoid. But in the process, I think there are still a lot of things which, as government, we are probably responding not as quickly as you would want us to, but I would certainly assure you the intentions are to make sure that we don't get into the usual rigmarole. We want to ensure that it is reflective and speedy. With the hub, I suppose, that objective will be better served all through one window of interaction. And I would want to have this kind of a spontaneity reflected in every one of us who are in the government, in the parliament. As a result, I have, in fact, this morning we were discussing with the secretary. As a one-off experiment, as a member of parliament, I had taken it up in Mangalore, which is conducive for me because I represent Karnataka, to have a co-workspace created in Mangalore, just so that majority of the talent from the coastal Karnataka was moving towards Bangalore, and Bangalore is, not to discourage, but Bangalore is overserviced. it was becoming expensive for many of them, even to look up for a co-workspace. So I thought I'll start this one, and the reason why I'm saying it here is not so much because I'm doing it, but that showed the moment we started this idea, the kind of enthusiasm with which people approached us. And only 2 days ago when I was in Mangalore, just to inspect the space which has been given by the municipality there, I was so encouraged that we were looking at creating a 60-seat capacity for this co-work space. And it might take 1 month. It's with the MP-led fund, which I've given as a member of parliament, not so much as a minister. But the 60 have already been booked. That is the... Thank you. That is the extent to which people are expecting to catch on the ecosystem which can get built. And I'm, in fact, therefore, discussing with the Secretary if I should write to all the members of parliament, not so much for every district. Prime Minister did say in a speech that he would want to see it happening in every district. But at least initially, in those districts where people are approaching their member of parliament saying, can I have some space? Can I do some meaningful work wherever I am? And all that it requires is if you do the initial investment and create the space, the networking can be as rapid as you can imagine. So in fact, I have taken upon it myself to make sure that I will write to all the members of parliament where there is a push from the startups. The MP should go ahead spending his money and creating the environment which the Prime Minister is talking about. Just the Atal Innovation Mission, just the HRD Ministry, just the Science Department of Science and Technology are not just going to be able to do everything for us. Yes, they would give us innovation hub. Yes, they would give us tinkering labs. But there should be some mechanism through which it gets grounded. Again, as a off-the-cuff experiment with which I'm very grateful, Rajiv Agarwal has been intensely working. I'm grateful that Amitabh Kant from the Niti Aayog has been fully supportive. I took it as an experiment to say, why not schools from the coastal district? I was happy here again to see, not so much happy, but I'm happy because of the way in which it has worked out. I could see in the map that completely between Maharashtra and Kerala, there was a gap. And not very many schools had qualified from Karnataka. So I had taken it again as an experiment to say, why don't we have a cluster of districts and then go and sit with the schools to tell them how to be able to be, eligible to get the tinkering labs facility to your schools. Many of these schools, government schools, have bright children, wonderful teachers, dedicated, but in spite of their best efforts, they couldn't qualify. So in fact, the team is here. I'm very grateful that they've come here. They're spending all their time between these districts in Karnataka and Delhi to go back and forth to tell these schools, saying, what should you be doing to be able to qualify for the Atal Innovation Mission to give you the tinkering labs? So I've created a virtual triangle for myself, saying at the bottom I'm going to have at least 3 districts identifying schools which can qualify. End of the day, I don't know whether they will, but we'll put the energy to make them qualify or to reach that level for schools to get tinkering labs, and one layer in between to also have one set of colleges which can benefit from the college level, UDAN or whatever the program has been called here, so that innovation environment comes to the level of college lifted from school. But even better, I think it is upon all of us to identify institutions which can host innovation hubs. Because there are institutions and institutions today. But in spite of the funding, the government goes through a certain route. By the time it reaches, there is a sense of restlessness saying, why should it take this much time? This institution is good, why can't we have here? But that institution being good is something which has to go back as a feedback to this government saying, why don't you come here rapidly and do something? So I think the creation of ecosystem to the maximum effort has been done by the private startup enthusiasts. But that has to get caught up with the government policy making, which is unfortunate. We don't want it to get caught up with the government policy making. It has to run, hand in glove with the decision making. So we are putting that kind of effort. At the level of the ministry, I think most of you all would have seen it in the media that in the last visit, where the Secretary Industrial Policy was also with me, we negotiated with Germany It wasn't one of the things on the cards before going. But we negotiated with Germany to make sure there will be an exchange of ideas between German startups and Indian startups. That way you immediately catch on with what's happening there, what kind of things are happening there, and for you to suggest then, if the government there could do this, why not you? Because how much ever we would interact, there are certain angularities which stop us from getting the nitty-gritty of the picture. So this kind of an exchange between startup to startup between two countries is something which we thought would help, and I was very grateful that the German minister immediately agreed, and we are working out the modalities of how Indian set of startups can exchange ideas with the German startups, so you are constantly in touch with those which are happening outside of India. One of the things on which many of us struggle in the government is when we're looking at branding of products from India, branding of certain ideas from India, we are finding ourselves short of technically qualified people, short of people who can ideate on a completely different plank. And on that, I would want startups, other than the things that you do, also if some of you all are in this area, to help the government in making sure that we are able to better brand things from India. You are in your own area of specialization, you are in your own area of having achieved certain levels in which we have to help you. Government procurement policies are also being changed in such a way that there is a slot given, there is a niche developed for the startups who can come in without any disqualification, which is being built into tender notifications. So we are making sure that the government procurement policies will have a niche opening for startups who can come and say, to the extent that I can do, to the extent that I can scale up, I'm here to supply, would you want to take us? Yes, without patronizing, yes, we want to take it. So I'm making sure the government policies also make sure that that kind of opening is offered for startups. But I would invite those of you who can co-work with us in helping us to brand India, brand Indian products, and make sure that we are able to project, because any number of international conventions, when we go out, I find now there's a uniformity in the way in which we are constantly talking about India can do this, India's got this, India, but if there is a novelty with which we can brand it in a different way, which is eye-capturing and also meaningfully translated into commercial, marketing of a product, marketing of the idea, it will be of great help. I invite any one of you who will want to join us on that. And the final thing, which of course is something which I want to float as an idea today, I've been talking with the Commerce Secretary, and I'm sure on this, I was just telling the Secretary, it need not just be Secretary and Rajiv Agarwal sitting and working. Many of you all can join in. I wish, and I will be working towards, having a SAARC country meet for startups. There is just so many complementarity. There's just so much of complementarity among us in the South Asian region. Many things are happening simultaneously. Probably by the exchange, you will probably know where you need not reinvent the wheel. But at the same time, mutually beneficial ideas can be worked out, and if there's a need, we can always, through the SAARC forum, have some interlinkages through which I think a great lot of similarly thinking minds, because South Asian mindset, similarly working groups can work together to have better synergy. I don't know what is going to come out of it, that's up to you all. But I also do not know how I would want to, let's say, draw a blueprint of what kind of interaction that should be. And that's where I've sown the thought. I shall work it from the point of view of government to government interaction, but we'll create that space for startup to interact, in which what the interaction is going to be, in which what kind of takeaways you want out of it, in which what kind of people you want to invite is something which you have to give us. And I would want the Secretary and Rajiv Agarwal to be open about getting all your ideas, and I would give about 4 to 5 months to have the actual event happening. So in the next 1.5 months or 2 months, if we have ideas happening, we can have the German thing will anyway happen, but between now and December, if we have this working out, the SAARC country startups can come to India, and you could probably share your ideas and see how best you want to build on it. So not taking much of your time, but on the startup, I think the biggest thing that we wanted to do is to keep in constant movement with you all, to keep abreast of what you're doing. Maybe we, in the first year after the Prime Minister launched, we were absolutely drowned with a lot of thoughts which came from the government, came from the startup, came from institutions. But I think we've crossed that stage now, and I can confidently say we are now probably running apace with all of you all, and hopefully you can also expedite us much more, widen us much more in our thinking, and suggest boldly what you want us to do further. We are with you. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, ma'am, for these motivating words. Absolutely fantastic idea of the exchange, startup exchange program. And we are certainly confident that startups under your leadership will certainly flourish in the country. And projects like the Startup India Hub will really help them to realize their dreams. So thank you indeed. Thank you very much. Can I just request a small token of appreciation? Yeah. So I think we're now heading towards the end of the event. I welcome Shri Rajiv Agarwalji to give a closing remark and conclude the launch of the Startup India Hub. Thank you very much, Rajiv.
Thank you. I would like to thank the Honorable Minister for her gracious presence today. And on behalf of the entire team of Startup India and the Startup India Hub, I would like to assure her that we'll be doing our utmost, carrying out her directives and thereby realizing the Honorable Prime Minister's vision. On this occasion, I would also like to thank all the enablers and key members of the startup ecosystem who have been kind enough to accept our invite at such a short notice. And they're all here in the resolve to guide and mentor the budding entrepreneurs of India. Our team will be looking towards all of you in future also for facilitation and handholding of startups. And a special word of thanks for all the startups here who I'm sure will use this opportunity, will use the hub to grow, to prosper, to move ahead, and in turn, handhold and facilitate other startups as they move on in the journey. A special thanks to all our friends from the media who have always provided us unstinted support in taking the message of startups and the entire entrepreneurship and innovative ecosystem message across all platforms and to all corners of India. I would be remiss in my duties if I were not to mention Mr. Ramesh Abhishek, Secretary DIPP, who has been putting in painstaking hours and efforts in taking forward this mission and who has been our guiding light throughout. Thank you, sir. A special thanks to Mr. Deepak Bagla, the CEO of Invest India, and his entire team. They've really played a very proactive role in housing and fostering the Startup India Hub. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just the beginning. And we hope that today will just be the start of an exciting journey ahead for all of us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone. With that, I request you to all please join for tea, coffee. Thank you.